Hello, I'm trying out some pikes, just for the sake of variety. And I have 6 African pikes, 4 Celtic warriors, 4 Iberian swords, and 2 Scutari, 2 Carthaginian cavalry, a noble, and a Numidian noble. Now, I did make a mistake here because I was going to bring mercenary Balearics. I forgot all about them, and bringing 6 pikes without having any other skirmishers than these mercenary Iberian swords, not the best of ideas. So, my opponent's army, my opponent is commanding Epirus. He has 3 Theraeus, an Aspis companion, Hellenic Royal Cavalry, mercenary Indian war elephants, mercenary Italian cavalry, 3 mercenary Cretan archers, 4 pikes, and 3 mercenary Italian swordsmen. So it would be very nice for me to have the Balearics to deal with the elephants and the pikes and the Cretan archers. So I'm kind of beating myself up for not bringing the Balearics. So I'm going to have to make do with these okay-ish these okay-ish mercenary Gallic warriors, but I'm not expecting a whole lot from my pikes because they behave so strange, and I can't use the super MLG no scope click 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 trick to make them more effective when I have so many of them. So I'm just going to scout a bit with my mercenary Numidian noble, see how he reacts, and it looks like my opponent is going to make me walk all the way over to his side of the battlefield, which kind of pisses me off, but I'm going to do it because I'm not just going to stand there and wait. But it's going to pose a problem because I could either walk and use an eternity, or I could just run like I'm doing now, but that's going to tire my guys out and make them less effective when they reach the enemy. So I don't know if that was deliberate on my opponent's part, because it is a cold map, and so my guys will tire quicker than they would otherwise. So it's still fresh, but that's going to change. Active, so they haven't really run for a whole lot of time, and they are reaching active status. That's going to be an issue. Now I'm not too worried about the armor composition of my opponent here. I have the tools to deal with his elephants. He has the cavalry advantage because he has higher quality cavalry than I have. His Hellenic Royals and his Aspis can destroy my nobles and my Carthaginian cavalry. I am not too worried about his pikes either, but these mercenary Cretans are going to be a pain. The Theraeus are potentially going to be a pain, but he doesn't have really strong infantry. So I have the infantry advantage, but he has the skirmishing and the cavalry advantage, which is potentially problematic when you have a pike line such as mine. Really could have needed those Balearics. And for some reason, this is pretty weird, you won't see it just yet, but for some reason I didn't understand why my Numidian nobles didn't kill any of the... because he chased them with his Hellenic Royal Cavalry for quite some time, and they didn't fire a single shot. So that was quite important in this battle. I could have potentially taken out his Hellenic Royal Cavalry with my Numidian nobles, but for some reason they just refused to fire. And I've seen this happen sometimes, not often, but sometimes skirmishers will just refuse to fire although the units are clearly in range. So don't quite know what that's about, but here you see my units are tired, so I'm going to have to stand around and rest. But if he moves into range with his mercenary Cretans and I rest, I'm going to take a lot of casualties. Now I'm winded, so I'm going to have to stand around for a bit longer. Just rest my guys, his guys are fresh, and I'm not resting as quickly as I would if the terrain, if the climate was a bit more agreeable to my African pikes. So I would do a lot better in heat than I am doing in cold with Carthage. So maybe Carthage wasn't the best pick here, but I wanted to try some Carthaginian pikes, so went for it. I just need to rest for quite some time here. And my pikes are better than his pikes, but he has a lot of missile support, so he will be able to damage my pikes a lot. Just shuffling my guys a bit, spreading them a bit thinner, so I don't take as many casualties from missiles, because I would much rather firing at my African pikes than I would having fire at my Iberian swords and my Gallic warriors. So spreading a bit thin to take the fire. I am losing quite a few African pikes to this arrow fire, so I'm going to move up my mercenary Iberian swords and start throwing javelins at the Cretan archers. I'll try to start the engagement with the pikes, but it's probably going to go horribly wrong. Here I should have had some Balearics to do the damage. Stop his flanking force with my mercenary Gallic warriors, but they are already active, and that's not very nice at all. And here you see just the pikes fucking up royally. They are barely engaging, and it's just weird what's going on right now. But he moves his elephants too close, and that means my mercenary Iberian swords are going to be able to shoot at them, and that's going to run the elephants straight into my pikes, kill quite a few of his pikemen, run over his mercenary Cretan archers, so that was pretty nice. But over here my African pikes are taking fire from both Thureos and mercenary Cretan archers. I'm moving my cavalry around the flanks to go for some rear charges. The elephants are gone. Now my mercenary Iberian swords can focus on destroying the pikes. I'm trying to stop this unit of mercenary Italian cavalry with these mercenary Gallic warriors, but this is one of the things that's really annoying as well, because they touched this unit, they all stopped, and that means that I won't be able to throw javelins at that unit, so extremely annoying there. And here you have the pike clusterfuck, just not being effective at all the way they are standing, not pushing forward at all, and I don't have time to micro. So here I'm too slow with my noble cavalry, so my noble cavalry gets charged by Aspis, which is going to be a terrible time for them. Pretty bad micro there on my part, I just messed that up. That might cost me the game. But over here as well, the mercenary Numidian nobles, although these guys are in range, they just refuse to fire at the Hellenic Royal Cavalry, and this continues all through the match. So no idea why, just a glitch I think. But the Hellenic Royals were able to catch my Carthaginian cavalry, and now I'm going to put my mercenary Numidians, and you can see they are in range but not getting a single kill. They haven't started firing yet. So that's pretty important at this point. The pike engagements are a clusterfuck of dimensions. Nothing much to say about that. Trying to charge into these pikes, but my opponent moves them away wisely. Here some mercenary Italian swords got stopped on pikes. The Gallic warriors aren't doing too well there. Getting rear charged on my Scutari. So they're going to drop fairly quickly from getting rear charged. The general just died, so that's pretty bad. So that micro mistake cost me a lot potentially. But look at the Hellenic Royal Cavalry. They took some casualties, and now they finally started firing, the mercenary Numidians. But they're going to stop firing. So that's just great. And again, I have no idea. And he's going to chase my Numidians all the way around the battlefield here. And if these guys had been firing, they would have been able to kill his general very quickly. So I'm winning on this flank, losing on this flank. The center is a clusterfuck. Look at these pikes. What the hell are you doing, guys? So that's going to enable these guys to get into the rear of my African pikes, and it's just bad all around. But my Iberian swords are pouring some fire into these guys. This unit of pikemen is wavering, and it should lose to my Scutari. So it's very close at the moment. But if these guys would just fire at the Hellenic Royal Cavalry, that would be very nice, but they refuse to do so. Fire at will was on, so I don't know what that's about. Mercenary Italian swords dying to Celtic warriors. Over here the pikes are just standing around and being useless, basically, not getting any kills. But it enables me to at least try to catch his Italian cavalry. Not doing too well there. Here against the Aspis, the pikes are somewhat facing the Aspis and pushing forward for a bit, but they're of course going to stop, and the Aspis is going to be able to kill a lot of mercenary Iberian swords. Chasing away some of his Thureos here. The mercenary Numidians are still being useless. Very annoying. Over here I'm engaged against his pikes frontally. Not the best engagement, but the pikes are spread very thin, so they are going to lose this engagement. I won here with my mercenary Gallics. My Carthaginian cavalry is going to be able to make it through here, but I think the mercenary Cretan archers were out of ammunition, so I moved them away to go for other targets. And still things aren't looking so bad, but here we have the same. The Now they are out of range, but they have been in range for a substantial amount of time, and under normal circumstances these mercenary Numidian nobles should be able to absolutely decimate this Hellenic royal cavalry. But still, it keeps his general out of the fight, which is good. It doesn't allow him to do any damage, but his Aspis companions are able to get a lot of kills on these light troops of mine. Pikes are just... I have no idea what they're doing. Really annoying stuff. So Thureos are going to get hammered from all sides here, so he's going to put them into square, which is a smart move. Here some more pikes are failing at killing Thureos. If they would just push here and kill these guys, that would be very nice for me, but they are not going to do so. Pikes are very frustrating. They can be nice if you're able to just stand behind your pike line and shoot at the enemy, then they can work, but the Cretans weren't out of ammunition actually. They just stopped firing for a second there. And here we have it, the wonderful mechanics of Rome 2. One guy gets stopped and the whole unit suddenly stops moving. But I'm able to run into his Cretans now and do some damage to them. They're running away, so they're going to take more damage. And here the mercenary Numidians, because the thing here was, I thought they were firing me all along and that they would kill his general, but they aren't going to be able to do that. And these squares are going to be difficult for me to break, because square gives increased melee defense and morale to the Thureos spears. The pikes are mostly dying, but his pikes did a lot better than mine, probably because he microed them better than I did. And still, I don't know what's going on with my mercenary Numidians. My Carthaginian cavalry is dying. These guys aren't doing too well against the Thureos. The Thureos are kind of pushing through while in square formations, just weird all around. So now my opponent is starting to gain the upper hand ever so slightly, and the same here. These guys should get absolutely hammered. 350 kills, that's nice. These guys should just get destroyed by Numidians, but my Numidians haven't really done much. They refuse to fire. So I mean, Total War 2 is fun, that's why I play it a lot, but it's just so damn frustrating when there are things happening that are beyond your control. It would have been so massively important to be able to kill his general and kill this unit of Aspis, but it was not to be. So now his general is free to go for rear charges against my guys. My pikes turn around, but it's a bit too slow. Probably won't be able to kill any of these Hellenic royals. And then they are kind of wrapping around the unit there, poking at them. The Hellenics aren't really losing anything, and I'm trying to pull my guys back. Amazingly, his Cretan archers still have ammunition left. The mercenary Gallics are not going to be able to break these Thureos, and he's catching my mercenary Numidians because they are exhausted, and his Aspis is only very tired. So I get a significant reduction in my speed here. I believe it's 15% when they are... no, it's 20% when they are exhausted, but these guys are resistant to fatigue, so it should be slightly less. I'm just trying to click attack orders here and see if they are able to actually shoot for a bit, but no, they aren't. So I have fire at will, I turn it on or off to see if that makes any difference. Doesn't make any difference at all. So these guys are not doing their job. They could potentially have taken out the general, but now the general is free to do rear charges, and I won't be able to defend my pikes from all sides here, mainly because this cavalry unit, I could have just kited away and waited for my Numidian nobles to finish off this unit, but it was not to be. So I'll just fast forward, because now it's just more running away, and all of a sudden, my Numidian nobles will start to be able to fire their missiles, and the pikes over here are just going to get surrounded and die, so nothing fun going on there. But here you'll see, oh okay, so now they can start firing, and look what happens when they can finally start firing. The Aspis are getting absolutely wrecked, but they only fired a volley, and they should have a higher rate of fire, but it's reduced because they are exhausted probably. And now in 3 volleys the Aspis companions are going to get destroyed, maybe 4 volleys. There we go. Yep, and last volley, and they should be dead. So the same thing would have happened, only more dramatic to his Hellenic Royal Cavalry, because his Hellenic Royal Cavalry, of course, they don't have shields, while the Aspis have shields. So two things turn this into a draw, I think. One, these guys weren't able to fire, and I expected the pikes to fuck up, just not as badly as they did. But not bringing skirmishers was of course huge here, because if I had skirmishers I would have been able to deal with his Cretans much more effectively. His elephants would have to kept their distance, and I think this would have been a fairly easy win for Carthage had I brought those Balearics. But it turned into a draw. It was a good battle, I think, but just really annoying that these units weren't dealt with my Numidian nobles, and they got a lot of kills. They got over 500 kills put together. I managed to deal with the elephants, but the main killers on my opponent's side were these mercenary Cretan archers and these two cavalry units. And when my mercenary Numidian nobles finally started to fire, they did a lot of damage. Pikes didn't do much. These guys did okay against the swords here. These guys didn't do too well. These guys did very well by bringing down the elephant. But just, yeah, it just serves as a reminder to myself to not get too stressed out about things happening in Total War Rome 2, because there are strange things going on that can affect the outcome of a battle, and I did make some mistakes, like this noble cavalry getting charged by Aspis. That was a huge mistake on my part. I also made a mistake in choosing not to attack the Cretans, because I thought they were out of ammunition because they didn't fire. So that was another mistake that I made, but other than that there were definitely some glitches that let's just say that it changed the gameplay experience in this battle, but otherwise it was a very good and interesting battle, and I hope you think so too. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again on the battlefield.